Welcome, everybody, to our second Lunch and Learn of the year. So happy everyone could be with us. To those who are watching online, reminder, love that you're watching online. Tell your forums. It's open to accelerators, members, alumni, sponsors, SAPs, SLPs, whoever you can get, bring them out to the next one. I am very, very excited today, though, because we have not one, not two, but three former EO Dallas past presidents with us. It's our friends at Superpowers, one of our incredible sponsors. I will kick it off to Terry and let you guys take it from here. Thank you so much for being here, guys.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it, bud.
All right, quick question, just show of hands. How many of you have 10x something in your life already? Just raise your hand if you've 10x something in your life. It could be revenue, it could be headcount, it could be personal income, it could be relationships. Who here is 10x something? All right?
We're not 10xing divorces right now, so don't raise your hand for that.
Could be kids.
Yeah.
Anyone have 10 kids? Yeah. I know Mike's halfway there. So, awesome. Now the question is, who made that 10x possible? Who made that jump possible? Who's the person that unlocked that 10x for you? And what we'll soon learn is that nobody 10x is alone. Okay? Nobody 10x is alone. And the question today is not, can you 10x? As we saw, everyone here raise their hand. You wouldn't be an EO if you hadn't 10x something in your life already, right? The real question is, who's the who that's going to unlock your next 10x? I'll say that one more time. Who's the who that's going to unlock your next 10x? And so there's a worksheet packet in front of you. On the first page, and you should have a pen, what I want you guys to do, the first question is, I want you to think back. I want you to think back to that first 10x. Write down one person who made that 10x possible. Just write their name down. And below that, I want you to write down what future did they unlock for you. And then once you've written that down, if you just real quickly just turn to your neighbor and just kind of share who that person was and share what future they unlocked for you. All right. Everyone share? Anyone want to share what they talked about?
Come on. Yeah, here we go.
In high school, I was 5'4", a little bit of a late bloomer. I'm about 6'2" now, just for perspective. I got cut from the basketball team. I was devastated. Looking back, pretty obvious. And then I tried out for the rowing team. My high school had a rowing team, and pretty much they let everybody on the team. So I thought, okay, well, that'll be a good sport for me. And my high school coach believed in me, really encouraged me, and I ended up being recruited to the #1 college university for rowing. 4 years later,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Where I won 2 national championships in college, and then later met my wife.
Wow.
So they unlocked, and now we have 2 kids. So like you could go all the way down
Come on.
the list of the things that they helped me unlock.
That's wild.
That's so good.
It's a great story.
Anyone else want to share?
Chris, what do you got?
We hired a really good manager about in 2020, and he freed up time. He basically took over almost all the operations so that we could grow the sales department.
Nice.
That's great. Yeah.
Do you want one? Yeah, please.
So it's sort of a funny story. My ex-wife, who was the visionary of our coaching company, she basically said, we're going to figure out what's possible. And so she was limitless. The problem was, as an integrator, trying to figure out how to make all that work. So she opened doors that I didn't think were attainable, and it made it easier to start just scaling the business like crazy. And without her visionary-ish about the business, it would have just been fine, but not great.
That's
Good.
awesome.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny for me. I think about, I think naturally when you ask this question about 10x, we kind of think about our businesses. I love your story. I actually thought about my first form training Back then, forum trainings were held at the Crescent Hotel. People were wearing suits. It was totally different vibe.
No sweatsuits?
No sweatsuits, no quarter zips either. So we went in, and I remember it was 12 strangers. And then we did this exercise where we turned to each other, and it was just like, share something about yourself. Hey, I'm Terry, this is where I went to school, this is where I grew up. And then he taught us what a 5% share was. And then we turned, and he looked over at me, and he didn't share 5%, he shared a 0.5%. And for confidentiality, I won't tell the name of the story, but he told me something that he had never told anyone, and it was heavy. And then we got up, and we had to go and share in front of the group. And because of him, he immediately transformed a group of 12 strangers to, we felt like brothers when we came out of there. In fact, most of those guys ended up becoming a forum after that. And so I was just reminded of, really, it's just the power of like, there's always a who. And that's the key that we want to talk about. Every 10X story, the pattern you heard, every 10X story has two ingredients. The first is a bigger vision. Someone's got a dream of a bigger, brighter future, right? The first element is a bigger vision, just like you talked about. And the second is a better supported founder in the context of a company, or really simply put, it's a who. It's a key person who's going to help you unlock that vision. And as founders, I think we tend to think about, we hear this word 10X, we think, man, if I could just have a better strategy, that's going to help me 10X. If I could just improve my sales funnel, I need a better funnel, that's going to help me 10X. Or I need to implement this new tech stack, or right now, what's the hot topic? I need to implement AI, that's going to 10X my business. But I think what we've found, and actually us having conversations with hundreds of entrepreneurs, is really the constraint to that is typically you. It's you and I. We are the bottleneck. If you look at a bottle, the neck is the tiniest part. It's also at the top. So usually the folks sitting at the top are the constraints of the business. And so today, really what we're talking about is we're going to dive deeper into delegation. Specifically, what are the 5 roadblocks that kill your 10X ambition? Okay? And what are the 5 roadblocks that keep founders stuck? And so he already introduced us. I wanted to just go a little bit deeper. This is Ryan Casson over here. He is a co-founder and partner of Superpowers. He's also a founder at Here Companies, which is a real estate company, a SFR company here in Dallas. Steven is a co-founder and partner at Superpowers. He's also the visionary and owner of Barnhill Vineyards, amazing outdoor live music venue up in Anna, Texas. And he's also the visionary and owner of Big Wheel Growth Partners, I'm sorry. My name's Terry Pham. I'm the community champion for Superpowers, and I'm also the co-founder and owner of Fat Straws, which is a local boba tea mochi donut concept here in town. So as John shared, we are, interestingly enough, 3 past presidents.
In a row.
I was 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. I don't share that with you guys to necessarily flex or impress you. I'm sharing that to impress upon you that we're here not as vendors, we're really here as peers. We've sat where you've sat. We love having founder-to-founder conversations. That's what we really want this to be about, is having a founder-to-founder conversation. And so when we talk about 2X versus 10X, okay, we're talking about 2X versus 10X. What actually changes? Now, what happens when you get to 2X? A lot of you may be 2Xing your business every year. And what does that typically look like? It looks like more efficiency. Maybe you're getting more efficient with your systems. Maybe you're getting more efficient with your processes. Maybe you're squeezing more out of your day. You're working a little bit longer, getting longer hours. Maybe you do what you do now, you just do it faster, you do it longer, right? Or you can just really hustle, or you can just grind your way to 2X. And I think that's something we can all relate to, is like, hey, if I'm going to 2X, I'm just going to put the blinders on, I'm going to put my head down, and I'm just going to grind and work harder. But 10X growth, what changes is it actually forces a different set of questions. And those 2 questions are, what do I actually need to let go of, right? This is a counterintuitive thing. It's not taking on more. It's not putting my blinders on and grinding and hustling my way. It's actually, what are the things I need to let go of? In EOS parlance, like, how am I letting go of the vine, right? And the second question is, where am I the bottleneck? Founders running at 2X, they're typically, maybe they're in every meeting. Maybe they're putting out the fires. Maybe they're handling all the key, business development calls. I think when you're looking at 10X, someone who's really shifting their mindset around 10X is they're actually trying to create space. They're actually having fewer meetings. They're actually trying to quiet the noise in their life. And they're actually looking at what they can let go of. And that's not just luck. It's actually what they're building is leverage. And that leverage comes from what we're going to talk about a lot today is finding this key who. Okay? So the bridge from 2X to 10X is what we've discovered is really delegation and leverage. And that has 3 key components. The first is know thyself. How well do you actually know who you are, right? And what we're really talking about is, do you know what your superpower is? Dan Sullivan likes to call it unique ability. Lencioni calls it your zone of genius. What's the thing that you can be world-class in, right? Then the second thing is building the right framework around having the right who's around you and your organization. And the third is, are you letting go of the 80 to 90% stuff that you're still holding on to? And what I mean by that is, am I letting go of something that maybe I can do it with excellence, I can do it perfectly, but someone else can probably get it 80 to 95%. Am I willing to let go of those things? And what we find is a lot of founders get stuck on maybe surrendering those things to their team. And so it sounds simple, but I'm curious, why do you think it's so hard to 10X? What are your thoughts on why do you think it's hard to go from 2X to 10X?
What I find a lot is the founder visionary has a trust issue because in the past they've hired the wrong person and they've gotten burned and they're like, never mind, I'll do it. And that statement sticks with them until they start realizing something else, more pain happens in the business, so they have to change the way they think. And we let go of that because if they find the right person to do that kind of job and focus on that, they will be 10 times better than they ever would, where they can go and do what they love to do and they're stuck on doing what they have to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well said.
I think a tendency of the entrepreneurs is to do a lot of things okay. And I think to 10X, it feels like you need to really do some things great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll also say cost. Like, what's it going to cost to get people to do what you need them to do to be able to 10X?
Absolutely. Yeah, anyone else? So today what we're going to do a deeper dive in is really what we identified as 5 roadblocks that kill your 10X ambition. So the first one is, I didn't know I could delegate this thing, okay? The second being, like you said, nobody can do this thing but me. How many people have probably said that in the last year, maybe the last week, possibly today? No one can do this thing but me. It takes too much time. It takes too much time for me to show someone. It takes too much time for me to give them feedback or teach someone, so I just do it myself. The last 2 are a little bit interesting. I actually enjoy doing this thing. I get a lot of joy from it. I'm pretty good at it, and so I'm not willing to let it go. And I think the last one really ties a little bit more into kind of understanding yourself, which is, I don't really believe that I deserve this level of support. And so the first 3 are what really kind of keep you stuck in 10X, and I think the last 2, stuck in 2X, the last 2 are the things that really are tied to your identity. Those are the things that sometimes make 10X feel impossible. And so Stephen's going to talk about roadblock number 1, which is, I didn't know I could delegate this. You're carrying 30 or 50% more than you need to. You just haven't imagined it as delegatable yet.
All right. So just quick show of hands, how many guys bootstrapped your company? Yeah, okay. So my first business when I joined EO, I started at the guest bedroom of our home, right? And so literally I bought a list of a couple thousand businesses in Dallas. I cold called, I begged for meetings, and I tried to sell people insurance that I didn't even know what I was selling, right? So it was a really, really hard existence. I would not recommend it. But as the business took root and began to grow, it was really, really natural and easy to understand, things that I was really terrible at, right? So insurance, we're all familiar with it. You have an application, you fill the thing out, and you submit it to the insurance company, and they've got to approve it, and then you have insurance, right? Well, I could literally put my very best effort in the world, all of my energy, I could gamify it. Whatever I tried, I would submit, and I got a couple of financial guys in the room, I would submit the application, ultimately they would kick it back because I would miss something, right? So I'm not a detail guy. So there were natural things that were just like really easy when the business was going. It's like, oh, I can delegate this, I can delegate that, I need to hire a salesperson. Natural things in the business, right? The things that really shocked me that like were tremendously huge in my 10X journey is when I started realizing all of the things that were undermining the bigger things, right? So the really important things. So sounds simple, but showing up on time to meetings, right? Doing what you say you're going to do, saying please and thank you. These are all things that are just, they don't seem, they don't seem like a big thing, but oftentimes in the busyness and the hurriedness of this 2X surge of I just got to work my ass off and get people around me. And ultimately what I would do was those things would fall, right? Other things that I'd say would be priorities in my life, that would be like deathbed type things, right? Like I want to walk out my faith. I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great father. I would make little micro compromises in my life that would undermine like integrity, right? And make me feel not good about myself. And ultimately what it caused was 2X. Like it was just a whole lot of hustle, and it allowed me to even like, I started to lower the index of my vision. And so where that became to be unlocked was actually when I started to realize that, and I'll talk about this later, but just some of the support that was available, things that I didn't know that I really needed in my life. Today, my executive assistant is one of the biggest unlocks in my life. A couple of things. So I have what's called a Better Husband Playbook. So literally, I have a list that my assistant has that I update probably about once a quarter. My wife's favorite place to shop, favorite bands, different experiences you want, and they are always looking 30 days to 90 days ahead for things that are coming in town so that I can know ahead of time, I can get tickets, I can buy gifts, I can do the thing in advance, right? So what that does is now I always do good at showing up for date nights, right? But now I show up creative and I plan the date night and I did the thing, right? And so when I started realizing in my business that I'm always have the ability to be on, that I can always work, and that in a single day I can ride 4 roller coasters at one time. We got the big client, we lost a client, got to fire this person. When you're on that topsy-turvy, that all these other things go to waste. When I started realizing I could 10X my life and not just the business, those things really became big unlocks for me. I do the same thing with my kids. So I have a better father playbook where basically, again, my assistant is always looking for opportunities for me to go and do father-son trips, go to different events with my kids, and they know their unique interests, right? Other things that I think sometimes shock people is like, I don't go on social media. I'm on social media, I write my own posts, but I have a better friend playbook. I got tired of missing the important events in people's lives. I remember people used to call you when they had a baby, but now they just post it. And so my assistant follows the 50 most important people in my life, and I get a weekly summary of the big thing. Hey, they won, they're going to the Junior Olympics, and I get to celebrate that, and I can get them to execute on a gift, and I can follow up on it or celebrate if it's an important client. We recently had at the venue, someone had a grandkid, and they're like regulars, and they're battling MS. They have all this stuff going on, but they just had their first grandkid, and so we were able to plan ahead, and I wouldn't have known had I not known, the social media thing. So a lot of things that I think are shocking when you start thinking about 10Xing your life that you can do. The last thing I'll just say is one thing that I do that I think surprises people that I delegate sometimes is actually just being proctored, right? So we're all sitting here together. I've got 2 people accountability. They're probably saying like, hurry up, we need to get to the next point. But the truth is there's things in my business that I don't want to do, And but I ultimately still, they're not, I need to have eyes on them. Financial is a big one for me. I have a fractional family office person. They do so much, but ultimately I still have to look at what we're investing, if I want to be a good steward, right? And so my assistant literally will block time on their calendar, will sit on there, she'll mute, I'll mute, and she'll literally set up everything, and I just go through my emails. And it's like, well, wow, that's almost like it feels like extravagant, it's like a waste, right? That she's sitting there, but that's the most important thing I need to do, right? And so it's just a big unlock. When you start thinking about all the things that in your life that you could be supported on, there's gold in this one.
Yeah, that's great. And so on your exercise sheet, I want you guys, I think it's 3 that says 5. I want you to write down 3 weekly recurring tasks that are important, but they don't require your founder brain. What are 3 things you're doing regularly that are important but don't require your founder brain? And then once you have those 3 down, I want you to just circle one that you could hand off in the next 14 days with a 20-minute or 30-minute conversation. And just circle that. We're going to come back to it. But if you've got your 3, just circle one and hold on to it. And so Ryan's going to talk about roadblock number 2, which is nobody can do it but me. We've all said this, no one can do it but me, but what we're really talking about is not abdicating judgment, right? What we're talking about is teaching your judgment to somebody else. And so Ryan, why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and so there are 3 things sort of broadly that I would say up top. The first is, and Terry alluded to this, the importance of knowing your superpower, your unique ability, right? Because this is one of the things that we sometimes see when we talk to founders. They're looking for ways, without them realizing it, because they haven't done the thought work, they haven't actually worked through what their unique ability is, they're treading into trying to delegate their unique ability tasks. They say, here's everything I do over the course of the day, let's start going through the list and delegating every single one of those things. So the biggest mistake you could possibly make, in my opinion, is when you say nobody can do it but me. If you're delegating your unique ability tasks, the things that make you special, the things that feel more like fun than work to you, that you have boundless and endless energy for, if you're trying to delegate those to someone else, whether that's an executive assistant or anyone else on the team, I guarantee you're going to confirm your bias that nobody can do it better than you, because there are unique ability tasks that nobody can do better than you. So that's the first thing is, as you're thinking about the delegation journey and going to 10X, being really clear and evolving, your unique ability tasks when you're 2Xing may look different than what they're, at 10X, when your gaze rises and your ambition grows. So updating that, being really aware of it, and knowing that that's a no-go zone for delegation. The second thing is it's the capability. We run into this a lot. Does my executive assistant or does anybody else on the team, the person that I've hired, do they have the raw horsepower to be able to do the things? Because if you've got the mindset nobody can do it, except you, you've got to have real confidence that the person you're giving the thing to has the horsepower to do it. I'll talk a little bit more about what our 90-day onboarding looks like in terms of like what our expectations are, so we can assess whether that person has the capability or not. But the reason we peg it to 90 days is that it's really challenging to know whether or not it's capability, because the shift is context. Like, you think you're trying to delegate something where capability is necessary. In reality, you're delegating something where context is necessary, right? And so I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years, and so I've got 15 years worth of who, what's, when, where's, and why's that just are natural to me, that I don't even think about. They're second nature, that shape how I react or engage with a particular situation. And if I'm not sharing that context, then I'm absolutely undermining the belief that someone can do it but me, and that the person I'm working with has the capability to do it. The second trap here is, and we see this all the time, it's the classic cleaning before the housekeeper comes, right? So like, I am so guilty of this, right? Like, we have a housekeeper, and I've never been more productive than the night before the housekeeper arrives. Everything is clean in the house. It's spick and span. It's perfectly ready to go because I want to present my best self, even to the housekeeper who fully expects to walk into a disaster, right, and to help. And we see this a lot where I've got to clean up my inbox, I got to skim the documents, I got to prepare my calendar, I've got to do all of these things just to be able to be ready so I'm not delegating a mess on someone. And while it's very well intentioned, what we run into is that you've robbed the person of learning the necessary context along the way, right? And so if we put it in the housekeeper analogy, they don't know where to put things away that are pulled out because you've already put them away. You've not given them that information, that knowledge sharing, that context sharing. And so we see a lot of people try to clean before the housekeeper arrives. So make sure that you're okay, and this is a conversation with yourself, make sure you're okay delegating the mess.
You the 3 Ps.
Yeah.
And the only thing I would just add, if
Please.
I could, to that is that oftentimes, in my case, I could clean the house, and someone's going to come behind and they're going to do it exponentially better. Ryan's place actually ends up clean. Mine's like, did you clean it? I'm not sure. So it's sort of funny, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to create this system. I'm completely not organized person, but I'm going to create this system to give to the person I've hired who really loves systems and is super organized. So it makes no sense. So anyway.
Yeah, the context piece is interesting. Ryan actually wrote a really great blog post a while back, and it was like, these 2 words are transformational. It's like when you just simply say, here's why, right? And I've actually shared it with all my team. I work with a lot of young kids. They're mostly in high school, some in college, and they're doing relatively menial tasks, making drinks, cleaning. But oftentimes when I run into, I'm delegating, I'm saying, hey, do this, do this, do this. What I found was I'm always frustrated because they're not doing it the way I want to do it. There's definitely a little bit of perfectionism there, but they also don't have the context. They haven't run a boba company for over 20 years. They don't know the things that I know. And so what I've started to do is I catch myself as I'm starting to delegate, as I'm asking someone to do something. This isn't even just at work, even with my kids, even with my wife. I say, hey, can you do this thing? Can you help me with this thing? Here's why. When I explain it, I'm giving them context, then they can understand the thinking around why I'm doing this. I want them to do it a certain way. And then I'm actually helping them understand to think the way I do, so then things are going to get done, not perfectly, but the way that we want it to. And I think what he's talking about, the context is key, is just simply saying that word when you're sharing something. Hey, can you do this thing for me? Here's why. Has a huge impact.
Yeah, for sure. So we have 3 Ps framework here on this, right? These are the sort of 3 levels of how the delegation happens, right? The project, the process, and then the proactive. I will say that in addition to the here's why, we've included in the package there, I did another blog post, 100 things that I've delegated to my executive assistant. And these were not 100 delegations on day 1. It was over the course of 2 years that we built into all of these delegations, these systems, these processes. And I said I'd touch on that sort of 90 days, does my, in this case, executive assistant, but does the person on my team have the capability? And we kind of look at it in 3 parts. So there's 3 levels of delegation, right? You can delegate the tasks out, and that's where you've done all of the thinking, you've mapped out all of the steps, and here are the individual specific tasks that I need you to do. The delegation is purely just please do this sequence of tasks. The second level of that delegation is the outcome, right? I have this desired end state. I want this thing to be true at the end of the project. I'm going to allow you to figure out what the steps are and what the tasks are, right? But where you're really operating at the highest level of delegation, and this is that 90 plus days, is when you're beginning to see that the person on your team is building new systems. They're creating new assets in the business. They're actually developing new ways of thinking and new processes that didn't exist before, right? And so beyond tasks, outcomes, and then the actual, the thinking about the business. Well, the way we think about it in terms of like the timeline is know you, understand you, anticipate you. So 30, 60, and 90 days in, generally our experience has been that in the first 30 days, somebody is just trying to get to know the facts of the business, right? Who are the clients? What line of work is it in? How do I update my priors and figure out, based on my experience, what's true or not true here, right? How am I gonna fit in and contribute here, right? At 60 days, we're looking for understand you. That's where you sort of get this shared context and vocabulary, right? And context, that word is key, right? You've given them enough context for what they're doing that now communication barriers are breaking down. You're saying email Bob about that one project, and they know who Bob is, they know what the project is, they know what the content of that email should be, they know how to take it the next step. It starts to get easier. And then at 90 days, we're looking for anticipate you, right? Seeing around the corner, I have enough knowledge and context and understanding about you to be able to see around the corner, take action on your behalf, and begin making decisions for you as well. So know you, understand you, anticipate you, 30, 60, 90 days into the relationship.
That's great. Yeah, I think about the anticipation. We talk about that in the hospitality world. Danny Meyer wrote a great book called Setting the Table. And he talks about the distinction between customer service and hospitality. And customer service is you come in the restaurant, it's the right temperature, it's clean, the food is prepared properly, your water is being filled. That's the technical delivery of what we do, right? But hospitality is really about how we make people feel. And it's thinking through, and what it ultimately is they're anticipating. They know what you need before you need it, right? A great server, a great person with a heart of hospitality looks at you and they has empathy, and they know and they can anticipate what your needs are before you know what they are. And I think that's what we're really talking about, is like getting to that level where of delegation where proactivity is the goal. The next roadblock is...
Yeah, by the time I explain it, I could have done it myself, which is absolutely, I mean, that's a painful one. I get it, right? Like, that's why I specifically said, and we can go to the next slide here, specifically said that the first 2 years was really the ramp up time to the first 100, key delegations, is along with doing other things along the way. But I'll give you just like a common example that we can all share, right? So let's say, it's the compound nature of the time that you're spending here. So if you're talking about 15 minutes to get lunch delivered or go out for lunch every day, not suggesting you can't go out for lunch, but just say, for instance, if you're spending 15 minutes going out for lunch 5 days a week, call it 48 weeks a year that you're working, right, fully loaded, that's a $30,000 lunch, right? And if your billable rate is $500 an hour, right? About $1 million over the course of a work year. That's a lot of time that you're spending on just going out and getting lunch, right? And so I would just encourage you to think about the compounding effects. Terry touched on this brilliantly. It's here's why. It's that slowing down so you can speed up. I guess another way that I think about this, though, beyond just sort of like doing the math game of where you could be saving time and what that means for you, is that when you're thinking about all of these things, and this is particularly true in 2X regime, right, where everything is you can will it to be 2X harder, 2X longer, 2X faster, whatever. You're creating a lot of what I call sort of like open tabs in your brain, right? Like if your browser has ever gotten to like 100 tabs and you're scrolling through them, like that is not an environment where you're strategic, where you're creative, where you're present, when you've got all of this distraction and all of this noise. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we as founders do a disservice to the companies that we serve when we're trying to shift from 2X to 10X, is that we haven't made the changes ourselves that allow us to be present, strategic, and creative. We've got too many open tabs in our brain and haven't done the hard work of figuring out where we can close some of those.
That's great.
And just what I would, add on, if anything, is just oftentimes, what we see in entrepreneurs is there's an energy leak too. So we can do an activity inventory. We can look at the time. What's this time cost? This is really expensive. $500 an hour for me to be doing this task. That's easy. But what we often don't think about in 10X is like, what are the things I'm not getting to, I'm procrastinating on that would really move the needle, right? Like for me, as a recovering people pleaser, my assistant would schedule what I called collision courses for the person I needed to let go, or the hard conversation needed to be had, or the follow-up on that really big opportunity, right? And so the more that I leak energy on all these other things, oftentimes I can feel exhausted, like I really did great work. But what I'm not doing is the really strategic work Brian was talking about that's going to move the needle towards that 10X, which is what I was alluding to my first one too, is that they would show up at home. Okay on a date night, but the things that got my wife are the things I want to continue to do to keep her. We've been married 22 years, right? But the business steals my creativity and I become non-strategic and everything else. So there's a hidden 10X. The math is easy, but there's a hidden 10X when we let this kind of take us from our highest use.
And we have the evil twin.
Yeah, so it takes too much time to give feedback. Yeah. So I'm a black belt in what I call the tsunami feedback approach. So the first step is to bottle up, right? You know, I've got some feedback that I could give you right now, but I'm going to bottle that up. The second step is to let it build up, right, over time. And the third step is to blow up and unleash it all at once and be able to go back several years or several months or several weeks and say, here's everything that you've done wrong and why what you just did wrong is a perfect reflection of how you failed me for months on end, right? And so I am a recovering, on that. But what I have done is sort of, adopted this short, soon, and specific model, right? That's a great 3 S's. It's a great, common way to remember to give feedback. To operationalize it, what I've done is I've got an alarm on my phone at 5 p.m. every single day, and it just says, feedback, right? And if you think about, again, just sort of round math, 5 times a week and 50 weeks a year, that's 250 pieces of short, soon, and specific feedback I could be giving, right? And it doesn't have to be negative. I know that's kind of the context here, but what a great reminder at 5 p.m. to say, who can I recognize? Who can I show appreciation and gratitude on the team and give short, soon, and specific feedback that they're doing the right thing and pulling in the right direction. So at 5 p.m. every day, that's my hack, is to give that little piece of feedback that otherwise would maybe come out in the tsunami method, or even worse, the positive feedback that would never maybe come out at all.
I'm still waiting for mine.
Yeah, it'll be a big tsunami. Don't worry.
Yeah, we actually
Praise, no doubt.
we actually use this framework in all of our training. So one of the things we talk about, because again, we have a lot of young people. One of the things I learned too is, I learned this at a NEO event years ago, is about generational bias, right? The generation you're born in, the values, the things that shaped you, those are the things you value, and the subsequent generation has a different value system. So me being kind of a Gen Xer, latchkey kid, figure it out, that's how I train my people. Figure it out. I'd actually train them. I just wanted them to figure it out, and then when they couldn't, I got extremely frustrated. And what I learned is younger generation, at this time was millennials, Gen Z, is they want feedback. They want to know what you're passionate about. They want to be engaged with you. They want to know the owner. So what I do as part of our training, it says, hey, once you join the team, it's your trainer's responsibility or your manager's responsibility to give you feedback, at least in the first month, at the end of every day. Here's what you did well. Here's what you need to improve on, right? So you're giving us some encouragement, you're giving something to work on. And I said, and if they get busy, if they don't share it with you, it's your responsibility, it's your duty to ask for the feedback. Because the worst thing that can happen is you think you're crushing it, and 2 weeks later it's been bottled up, and you get a tsunami of, hey, I'm sorry it's not working out. Didn't give them an opportunity to change. Or on the flip side, they think they're doing horribly, but actually the manager's like, man, they're crushing it. And so you have this misalignment of seeing who you are. And so I really love that as just a tool just to ingrain into your culture of the company.
Did you have something?
I was just going to ask how you give that feedback. Do you do it in person, over the phone, text message, email?
Yeah, great question. It depends on the person. I love a simple text, and I love the fact that that text is there the next time I'm talking to that person, right? And so I'm hugely biased on the text. It's easy for me, and I feel like I communicate better in written form, and so that's the preferred way.
I think what I found is it depends on how they like to be communicated. So some people who are verbal processors, they want to hear, because there's tone that doesn't get translated in text.
Totally.
But there's not a record of it. So it's just kind of identifying who is the person you're talking to and what are they required? Do they want verbal feedback or they want something written? Yes.
I had that experience this week with my executive assistant, so I'm glad that you guys are sharing this. She was going through a breakup. She's single. I don't know the details because I don't want to be pulled into that whirlwind. There's a big task that I needed her to do so that it freed me up to do the things that only I could do this week. And she had a meltdown over her breakup. And she said, I'm so grateful that you understand. I must go, I don't understand. And so maybe it was just too short, too specific, but that's something I'm working on because I don't understand. I can accept where she is, but I don't understand that.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Some of that's generational too.
And not that you've got an abundance of things already, but back to things I didn't know I could delegate. My assistant looks every week for things people that could be recognized, things I might want to and she tees up emails for me, and I'll go in and adjust them and send them, or not send them because of, I don't want to, but she's always looking, because I do want to show up in gratitude. I do want to show up and give the short, soon, and specific, but I just may not think to do it.
Yeah, that's great. And we talked about this. It disappears when you stop asking, what's the fastest way can I get this done today? And when you start asking, who can help me never think about this again? That's really the 10X question that you should be asking. Roadblocks.
He's trying to get a picture.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here. And we can share this. We can share the deck with you too. But go ahead. Just have it. Yeah. So this one's interesting.
This is that sort of, I think, shift from like some of the 2X things
Right.
that hold folks
So
back.
these last two, the first three really kind of focus on some 2X shifts, which are around context. I think these last two really speak more to kind of your view of yourself, self-worth, identity. And I'll speak to this one. This is a thing I actually enjoy doing. Man, I'm good at this, and I don't want to give it up. And it's interesting to think about that. So we've got 6 locations. I remember, I grew up single mom, didn't know anything about owning a business. I literally built the plane as I flew it. What that also meant is I have this kind of rugged individualist mentality. I love being in the trenches with my team. I never want to be in this, what I call ivory tower syndrome, where I'm just like an owner. There's some like head trash around that for me. And so as we grew, I couldn't see and interact with all my team. And that felt fundamentally wrong. There was a disconnect. And so as time went on, as our team grew, 40, 50, 60 people, I stopped being part of their onboarding. I stopped being part of, maybe they saw a video, maybe they saw a blurb from me. And I felt disconnected from the team. So in the last few years, one of the things I decided to do is like, hey, I have the time. I'm going to do a brief 1-hour orientation with every single team member. And in my mind, I'm building culture, I'm building connection. This might be the one touch point they have with me at least this quarter. They're gonna put a name on the face. No one can tell the Fat Straw story like I can. No one can enroll them in the culture and talk about the core values the way that I can. And what I found was, one day we have a site inside of AT&T headquarters, and I got up early and I spent an hour going downtown, and you have to park, and then I walk in the building, and I sit down with this girl, and I have a 1-hour orientation, and then the team's like, oh, hey, we have this, and this. 1 hour turns into 2 hours, 3 hours, and I head back. I burned my whole morning doing an orientation. Now, I could justify it. I'm good at it. I enjoy it. I'm building connection. But how else could I be using those 4 hours? Like, should I actually be looking for another location? Should I be looking at finding another corporate opportunity like we have at AT&T? Or the truth is, maybe what I'm doing, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, is maybe I'm choosing activity over productivity. This feels good. I'm getting a check off the box. I'm building culture. I'm getting that dopamine hit. I feel productive. But what I realize, it's activity. It's not productivity. And maybe the real issue is, am I willing to face the hard reality of, man, there's some really tough stuff ahead of me that either I don't know how to do, I don't have the capability for, I don't have a relationship for. And so this can become a procrastination tactic. It can become a avoidance tactic, right? And so this is, I don't know how this might show up for you guys. Does that resonate with anyone? Is there something like, hey man, I'm good at this, and there's a distinction. We talked about your superpower, or Dan Sullivan calls it your unique ability. If it's in that category, absolutely 100% you should be doing that day in and day out, because it probably gives you energy, you're getting world-class results, right? This stuff falls in what we'd call the excellent category. You're good at it, you get good results. It probably doesn't necessarily give you energy, but rob you energy. But this stuff can fall onto your plate, and it feels productive, but it can actually rob you of valuable, key strategic high-yield activities. But I'm curious, do you guys have any other thoughts on, does this resonate with you? Like, is there something you enjoy doing that maybe you shouldn't be?
Christian nodding. Did anything show up for you?
Yeah. when I have this with my clients, I ask the question, I'm like, are you still doing what you were doing 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Does that really make a difference in your business today?
Yeah.
And what I find is they're always busy, so they're just used to that routine, and it's not serving them anymore, but they think it is. So it goes to your activity versus productivity.
Yeah.
But the question is, are they taking the time to think, how can I better serve my people in a different way and still be productive in my business at a different level?
Yeah, and one of the things that we talk about is like, how do you delineate between this excellent versus superpower? And I think you asked the right questions. One, is this truly my superpower? If I stop doing this today, would my business suffer in any way if I didn't do it? And number two is this really a 10x activity? Does this meaningfully move the needle in my business, just like you said? So that's a great way just to kind of delineate and think like, is this something I should be working on? Or is this something I need to really look at delegating to somebody else? And so Stephen's going to close us out with roadblock number 5. I don't believe I deserve this level of support. He's got a really
This
great
is a
story
fun
around
one.
it.
I get to spill my guts here. So, first to be clear, I never once started saying I don't deserve this level of support. Okay. But I made 2 really good decisions. One, I joined Strategic Coach about 20 years ago. Dan Sullivan's thinking, like a lot of the concepts even that's spilled into today, have been transformational in my life. The second really great decision, I joined EO. And out of those, surrounding myself in growth-minded communities, what I discovered was that there are what these things called blind spots. And so we were really, I'm 100% certain the day before I find out I'm totally wrong, right? It's great, right? Well, I had joined, these organizations. I had been growing. I had 10x. I had 2x to my way to 10x though, right? And so in my mind, I never said this, but deep down inside, I knew that I was playing small. But I had put myself in an environment, I had surrounded, until I joined these types of organizations, what I'd really done is enabled myself to continue to play small. Because my group of friends at the time, not in a growth-minded community, they thought I was, man, this guy's 10xing. But when you get around people that really know you and think 10x, and you're in a community like that, things start happening. And that happened in my team. So our business is growing, the insurance business. I'm hiring these people for all the things I'm really terrible at. I don't even know the things I could possibly delegate and the freedoms I could have. But slowly but surely, the business grows, and I'm hiring for everybody on our team. My team actually staged an intervention for me. All right? My CFO, my head of ops came to me and they said, look, no offense, we love you, we appreciate how much you value us and how you keep adding people to support us, but you're the freaking bottleneck on everything. You're the reason nothing's getting done, right? And they literally said, we're not letting you hire another person for this organization until you get help, right? And so they staged an intervention, they went and they helped me find my first assistant that created so many things I didn't know I could delegate, so many unlocks in my life, confidence increased, I became more strategic, I started doing more of the hard things because I didn't have the energy leak, I didn't have the time leak, and you do enough things that are 10xy, they eventually start to work for you, right? And it takes a while, you're planting seed, but slowly but surely, everything in my life begins to 10x. And it becomes way more fun, right? But I never started saying this. It's the testament to being in a growth-minded community, being open and honest, and allowing that, in my case, surrounding myself with great team members. But it was a huge, massive unlock. So some of y'all may not resonate with that at all, but some of you guys know, I'm maybe hitting a chord, that you're getting away with it. You know there's a 10x life for you, business or personal, but you're not allowing yourself to enjoy it. And mine was completely tied back to stuff when I was a kid. I got counseling, everything else. I had done all kinds of things in my youth, and my parents, wonderful people, 7 marriages, 2 years. I often just felt lost. I felt like I didn't matter. I didn't value. And then in my teenage years, I made a bunch of decisions to double down on I don't matter and reinforce that in my life. And so despite everything that was going well in my life, I was letting a kid make decisions for me, and I was completely blind to it. And so I would settle for good, right? 2x is good, right? I should be grateful. I wouldn't allow myself to really pursue the great. And so it was a huge unlock. So I just want to encourage you, wherever you're at, if you feel that, don't ignore it. Get yourself around people. It's a massive unlock for you.
Yeah, that's great. So we're going to close out. We talked about the 5 delegations today. I didn't know I could do it. Nobody can do it but me. It takes too much time. I enjoy doing it and don't want to give it up, and I don't deserve the support. And like we said, those first 3 live in your head. Those are really around awareness. They're around context. They're around tactics. I think the last 2 are a little bit deeper. Those really are tied to your identity, who you think you are, what you deserve. And if you look, there's the last exercise. If you remember, in the beginning, you circled one of the things. What I'd love you to do right now is on that last page, not the last page of the booklet, but the last page of exercises. I just want you to answer 3 questions. Who on your current team or future hire could realistically own this? That's number 1. Number 2, what outcome would define success? Just 1 sentence. And then number 3 is, when in the next 14 days will you sit down with someone and have a 20 to 30 minute delegation session? So if you guys want to write that down.
Awesome. And I know we're tight on time here, but I wanted to just say thank you. I'm grateful to be here and to be with each of you and end on an invitation. As Terry mentioned, we help entrepreneurs, founders, business owners find their executive assistant. And so if getting really clear on what your unique ability is, your superpower, if getting really clear on what's getting in the way of that and the who that could help you get through to delegate more and get more leverage in your business and professional life. If that's a conversation you'd like to have, would love to invite you to have a discovery call. It's super low, it's 0 pressure. What we do is we go through this whole exercise and really hone in on your unique ability and what gets in the way of that. And if we can help you with the delegations, great, let's keep the conversation going. But even if we can't, we'll send a report afterward that gives you a really clear roadmap for that who that you need to hopefully unlock your next 10x. We love EO. We love how we found our tribe in EO, and we went and built a business around the idea of having founder to founder, peer to peer conversations all day, every day. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. We really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, please.
So when you work with people, is the goal to help them better understand what type of EA they need, or are you actually a recruiter as well?
Yeah, so we'll staff the executive assistant as well. Our EAs are full-time and based in the Philippines. I could tell you a whole story about how we started the first 3 years of the business sourcing in the US and what a fun learning adventure that was. But we source full-time EAs in the Philippines. We will sort of develop them through curriculum coaching and community, and then develop you as well through some delegation coaching. So if you haven't had that role in the past or you're looking to get more out of it, we help on both sides of the equation.
Yeah. And yes, in regards to the fit, so that's a big part of it's a matching process. And so we have an audition process, so we actually get to see how the assistant works, and we find the right match.
Yeah, and I love that even when you do a discovery call, one of the things you're going to do is they're going to send out an index, a personality index, predictive index, and then you're going to get that back. You're going to help understand yourself better, and they actually use that data to pair you with an EA that's going to complement you. I think we always say we want to clone ourselves, but I don't need more low-detailed, ADD scattered guys like me. I need someone who's going to hold me accountable, someone who's going to be focused, someone who's going to be detailed, someone who's going to really put guardrails around the way my brain works all the time. And so that's one of the things I think is really, really great, and that you'll get out of a discovery call.
Please.
One other question. Can you speak just to ranges around how much a full-time EA would cost, and then what your fees are for going through that process?
Yeah, for sure. So we'll staff them, so $3,500 per month, and what we do is we load up sort of a pay range for the assistant, and all of their raises are baked into that over the course of the years that they're working with you, so that number doesn't move. Also in the Philippines, there's a weird 13th month thing where we escrow for their bonus at the end of the year. So that's the fully loaded, that's supporting them with benefits and everything else, and that's just a monthly, hits your credit card. Super simple. We're trying to keep it as dead simple as possible. That's to your point about what are we removing along the way.
How many EAs do you go through before there's actually a fit? Because I have heard that there's, from many folks, that they had to go through 2 or 3, and then they had it click.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's definitely, that's an experience that we sometimes see. I mean, obviously on the front end, you're trying to get the match right. You're trying to find the right fit right from the get-go. It's where the personality assessment comes in. It's where the discovery call comes in. So that, that call we schedule for a half hour, it goes a full hour, and you're talking about all of the things that you want to be doing with your time and what gets in the way of that. We go really deep into it. And then our hiring team reviews that and goes out and finds the right fit person. So we're averaging 2,100 interviews, first round interviews or applications per month. And then we're hiring anywhere from like 24 to 30, depending on the month from that. So, I mean, it is not an exaggeration to say it's a 1%, across the finish line rate. And the last step in that process is our alignment call. And so after the interview, the second interview, the work product, the background check and the reference check, the personality assessment that your prospective EA goes through, we're then putting them on stage for that last round of the interview that you're a part of to ask questions, get to know them better. We help sort of lead that process. So you have a really high degree of confidence. Because it's a 90-day onboarding to truly get to that anticipate you, which is what everybody's looking for, we're doing a ton of hand-holding along the way with you and with coaching the EA, because the biggest thing that undermines it is confidence, right? Is all those little things that erode confidence and makes you think this may not work. And the short, specific, feedback that we can give along the way, that we incorporate what you're saying into their coaching, I think it helps build that confidence.
On both sides. And in the rare instance that the match isn't right, sometimes any recovering people pleasers in the room? Anyone? Okay, I would literally go forever. I would go and do everything I could and really protract how long it was before I would let someone go. And oftentimes we see people get just a glimpse of the freedom from the role. And so sometimes we can see actually that it's not going to get there, but they're so grateful that it's like they want to hold on to the little bit of additional freedom that they had. And we're like, no, we promise there's something better. Yeah. So we try to take a leadership role in that way as well, because what we ultimately want is you guys to be, freedom and growth, right? We want you guys fully unstuck and alive in these relationships. And so we have to really assume a leadership role to help that launch.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I found is what's been interesting is in the beginning, there's been more, the challenge for me was actually having to change how I operate and actually let go of stuff. Like something as simple as email, right? I want to be very responsive. I want to stay on top of it. And what was funny is that after a couple of weeks, I'm going in and I like a clean inbox. So I'm deleting all the stuff that I don't want to have. I archive things. I try to get to inbox 0 if I can. And, we had a delegation, actually coaching session, and they're like, hey, you make her feel not trusted when you're snooping around your inbox. So either you need to change your expectation or clarify what your expectation is. Like you want it clean all the time, anytime you're looking at it, or you got to let go. But you snooping around, staying in it every day is actually making her feel like you don't trust her. And I was kind of in this gap mode. I was like, wow, she's not really doing it the way I want. And I realized the EA's not the problem, it's me. I need to just let go and I need to stay out of it. And that was a turning point for us. Really unlocked a lot of stuff for me. And it's been great to be able to surrender that over to somebody else. And they get to do it with excellence.
And his hair has grown thicker and he's about 2 inches taller.
Not about
5 pounds lighter.
Yeah. Awesome.
Hey, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys.
Appreciate it,
I
guys.
enjoyed it.